about the FF4EuroHPC Open Call 2. What I'm going to do is, this is a more compact presentation, so I'm not going to explain the background about why we would be promoting the use of HPC to industry and SMEs, because I think that's probably very clear to all of you. But I'm going to focus on specific aspects about the FF4EuroHPC project and the current call. So that will be the focus of this presentation. The Fortissimo approach is one that goes back to two prior projects, Fortissimo and Fortissimo 2. And the central theme is the execution of what we call experiments. These are not research experiments, but they're business impact experiments, really investigating the business impact that's possible through the use of HPC. And the bulk of the project funding in prior projects and in the current project is used for these experiments. And we target really highest quality, innovative SME-oriented experiments, and we're acquiring those experiments through open calls for proposals. In the past two projects, we actually executed over 90 experiments and generated approximately 80 impressive business-oriented success stories, and those success stories are a key point, and I'll come back to that aspect. So the current Fortissimo project, FF4EuroHPC, is funded under the EuroHPC program. It started in September 2020 and it's got a duration of 3 years. The coordinator is HLRS, and we have 4 HPC centres involved: HLRS, Arctur, Česká, and Chinica, and then the SME Scarpos from my company, and TerraTech, and both of the latter are involved in managing HPC projects, and TerraTech's involved in interaction with industry about the topic of HPC. And it's all about stimulating the innovation potential of SMEs. It's not about heroic, grand challenge supercomputer problems. It's not about research. It's really about showing industry the potential of using HPC, and we're targeting small and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs. And it's showing them that the impact of using advanced HPC infrastructures, applications, and services. And we're trying to open up the use of those infrastructures and services to a really wide range of users, and looking at new and emerging data and compute intensive applications and services. And I mentioned already that the success stories are a key point, but the point is that we want to foster wider innovation. We want to show the examples of what can be done and exchange information about those success stories and promote best practice use cases or application experiences. So it's all about reaching out to a wide audience in Europe and promoting the use and leading to innovative agile SMEs and the use of HPC systems. So the methodology we're using in this project is the same as before, essentially. We want to support the EuroHPC initiative to promote industrial uptake of HPC. And the focus, as I mentioned, is small and medium-sized enterprises. And it's all about the execution of these portfolio of business-oriented application experiments. And that will be achieved through 2 open calls for proposals. Open Call 1 already happened, and I'll mention that shortly. And this presentation is about Open Call 2. Beyond that, we are looking to collaborate with the national HPC competence centres, and obviously through the EuroHPC projects Castile and EuroCC. And we will wish to support the SMEs actually participating in the project in establishing their HPC related innovation. But the big picture is the promotion of the overall approach and the outreach to the whole European SME community. Call 1, as I mentioned, already happened. We received 68 proposals, and we had really very good response. We had 202 organizations were involved in those proposals, and a range of countries, from 25 European countries, and a large range of application areas, picking out some at random. So finite element methods, CFD, machine learning, natural language processing, also couple simulations. So we had a very good mixture of modeling and simulation and the more analytics or AI approaches. From those proposals, we were able to select 16 highest ranked proposals with a funding budget just in excess of 3 million euros. So those 16 proposals, or 16 experiments that have now started, they involve 53 organizations, and 27 of which are SMEs. So we had a very strong SME participation, and we ended up with quite a range of themes being addressed. Couple simulations came up strongly, but also machine learning, CFD, Monte Carlo simulations, but video analytics, 3D rendering, natural language processing, to name but a few. So those are the experiments that were selected in Core 1, and they have now started to execute. They started in June. So now I'm going to focus on the Core 2. And as before, we're looking for proposals targeting innovative agile SMEs, and the work plans of the proposed experiments should really focus around the challenges that those SMEs have. So using advanced HPC services to meet the challenges that those the SMEs involved, end user SMEs have. One thing I wish to emphasize in this presentation, there are some changes, there are some differences between Core 1 and Core 2, and they affect the selection process that will be used to select the experiments from the proposals. So we will be giving a higher priority to experiments addressing business benefits of manufacturing SMEs. And we will also have a selection procedure that we hope will achieve a broader geographical distribution of the participants in the experiments that are finally executed. And I'll go into more details about both those points. Call 2 objectives are similar to before, but we've got some more details. As before, all experiments should address business challenges from European SMEs with a variety of application domains. So as I said before, we're not looking for research projects. As before, the preference is given to engineering and manufacturing, or sectors able to demonstrate fast economic growth or particular economic impact for Europe. The proposers have the job to explain to the evaluators why that is the case. So if it's other than engineering and manufacturing, please explain why you believe it is a particular economic impact. So demonstrate that in your proposals. The highest priority will be given to proposals directly addressing the business challenges of manufacturing SMEs. And we'd like to point out that research-focused business models are not within the scope of the call. We realize that there may be experimental proposals addressing research themes, for example, research into addressing the COVID pandemic, but they may have a high impact for Europe, they may have a high societal impact, but they're not in the scope of this call. This call is about, as it says here, manufacturing and engineering or other SME business challenges with economic growth or economic impact in the foreground. We are looking to reach out to SMEs that are new to the use of advanced HPC services. So priority will be given to consortia that focus on their needs. So new to HPC is a key point. Some expectations for the experiments. The diagram on the right we've used before. It shows you that actually each of the proposals should contain all the players that are necessary to execute the experiment, that is the work plan that's proposed, and the end user in the center of that. So it's all about solving the business challenges for that end user SME, and then the the other participants are those that are necessary to do the work. So it may be an HPC service provider, it may be a software provider, be that an ISV or a research provider, or you may have HPC or application experts. It's important that every proposal defines the resources needed and budgets for them. So quite different than the Fortissimo projects in the past, FF4EuroHPC will not be in a position to provide computing resources, so the proposals have to budget for that. There are many proposals, or we expect, that will be looking at data analytics or machine learning approaches, and of course in that context data protection and accessing issues are very important, and the proposals should make clear in that how such aspects, data protection or data access issues, impact the proposed work, and make sure that it's clear that the experiment that would finally be executed will be able to deal with those issues. I've already mentioned this before. The big target is for the project to produce a suite of success stories promoting the use of HPC across a range of industries in Europe. So we're looking for publishable success stories based on actually solving the real world problems and identifying the business benefits realized, not just technical benefits, but the business benefits of actually doing this work. If you're coming from an area where there are regional priorities, please identify those. So in your proposal, if you've got a specific industrial specialization area, please mention that. Important is that the proposals should be complementary to those in the past Fortissimo projects, and of course also those selected in Call 1. And a short summary of what we mean by complementary is it should be different. It shouldn't be the same application with the same type of SME. Look for something different. Okay. The evaluation procedure, the actual criteria haven't changed at all. We've been using the same criteria. So impact, including industrial relevance and exploitation plans, soundness of the concept, and the quality of the work plan, quality of the consortium as a whole and of the individual proposers, and then resources, effective and justified deployment of those. All of the criteria will be evaluated with a score between 0 and 5. The first criterion will have a weighting of 2, and the other criterion weighting of 1. That gives a maximum score of 25 points. We do apply a threshold. So there's a threshold of a score of 3 applied to the first 3 criteria. Proposals not reaching that threshold will not be eligible for funding. What's new in this call is that we will have a prioritization of experiments involving manufacturing SMEs. So that will be implemented in the following way: that the maximum score on the impact criterion, criterion 1, that may be assigned to a proposal not addressing directly the business challenges of manufacturing SMEs will be 4.0 points. We do give half scores. So maximum score for 4 if it's not addressing directly the business challenges of manufacturing SMEs. Now coming to the selection of experiments, we will be using a 2-phase process. And the intent is to increase the geographic distribution of the experiments that we'll be executing. As you saw from the previous slide, in Call 1, we selected proposals involving organizations from this list of 9 countries. And that will be taken into account in the 2-phase evaluation procedure. In phase 1, we'll be selecting experiments with up to 3 million funding, and the selection will be made from proposals which should score scoring more than 17 points, and from countries not in that list of 9 countries given there. After that, there will be a ranking of all remaining proposals irrespective of the country affiliations, and that will be used to select the remaining experiments. The following slide gives you that in a graphical form. So we will execute the evaluation process as ever, rating all the proposals individually. Sub-threshold proposals, I said there was a threshold score of 3 on the first 3 criteria. If they're below threshold on one of those criteria, they're not eligible for funding. All proposals above threshold will then go on to the selection process. The phase 1 will be ranking proposals from the countries not funded from Core 1 with a score of 17 points. The best proposal for each phase 1 country will then be included, selected for funding, and that will be result in X proposals, or a funding of X, which is maximum 3 million euros. All remaining proposals not selected in phase 1 will go into the ranking for all proposals for all countries in phase 2, and the remaining proposals will be selected up to the remaining budget. So there will be 5 minus X million euros for the phase 2. One of the points that's important to make is that the project will be using the construct of financial support for third parties to fund the inclusion of experiment partners. So just to be clear, when we talk about beneficiaries, we mean the 6 partners who signed the grant agreement with the European Commission. All other participants in proposals or in experiments we refer to as third parties. This is not about subcontracting that you may have, but all of the participants in the selected experiments are viewed as third parties, and they will receive funding in the same way as the beneficiaries, according to Horizon 2020 rules. In particular, that means that you'll be receiving 100% funding for eligible costs arising. There are some restrictions. The first is that any individual experiment may not exceed 200,000 euros, covering all the funded participants. There's a special issue that some beneficiaries may take part in experiments, but their funding is not to be included in the funding budget. Then there's an issue about the maximum funding that we are allowed to provide to individual third parties across all experiments in which that third party is involved. So from Call 1 and Call 2. And that maximum funding is 150,000 euros. So please note that proposals that do not adhere to those restrictions will be rejected without further evaluation. So if it's quite clear, for example, that the proposal asks for 205,000 euros funding, it exceeds the 200 and it won't be evaluated. Similarly, if there's a third party that received 100,000 euros from Core 1 and requests another 100,000 euros, that proposal will be rejected without evaluation. So please be careful about the putting together the funding budget for your proposals. Key call details. The submission deadline is the 29th of September, 1700, I think it's then CEST, but Brussels local time. As I've already mentioned, the total indicative funding is 5 million euros. The expected duration of experiments is a maximum of 15 months, and we hope that they will start in March 2022. I already mentioned the maximum funding per proposal is 200,000 euros. Submission is electronic form, and you'll see this URL again later. So proposals are in English. There are templates or exemplar documents, Word documents provided that you can use to put those together. Part A is the administrative part, and Part B is the content and the whole body of the proposal. There is a page limit on Part B, so it's a covered page plus maximum 10 pages. Part A, please fill in the tables provided and do not provide additional information. Again, for efficiency, we have to stick to the deadline of the 10 pages, and if you don't stick to the content and limit page limits, we will actually reject the proposal. There's a lot of information about the submission available via the FF4EuroHPC webpage. Go to calls and submission. Exclusively in electronic form, and as I already mentioned, submission date is 1700 on the 29th of September. There's documentation available on the website already. There is a combined call announcement and proposers guide. Then 2 Word documents as exemplars that you can use to prepare your proposal, and then sub-pages on the website providing a proposer evaluator checklist. So for transparency, both proposers and evaluators see the list of expectations for the criteria, so you can see what advice we would give to evaluators as proposers, and then a set of frequently asked questions. If you have more questions, there, as I just mentioned, there's an FAQ on the website. There is a set of links to more information about the project, about success stories, videos, and brochures. And if you then still have questions, then please contact. You can contact us at the email address given there. Thank you very much. I'm happy to take questions if we've still got time.